Welcome to the video number 2 in the root cause of, basically solving all the organizational problems series. And today we're going to be talking about the root cause of disengagement. Now, of course, there are many root causes of disengagement, but one of them is going to be a mismatch of how people are motivated. See, you and me, we have these primary motivators. And when we're by ourselves, we use them to essentially make decisions on how we spend our time and what we focus on and things like this. Now, when we're with other people, it's a little bit different. See, because now you have the group dynamics element. And this is where the disengagement comes in, because sometimes you'll find that you are in a group of people and you are engaged, you're innovative, you're crazy, productive, and then there's another group where you still have the same skills, the same abilities, the same ideas, but it just not interesting and it's not fun, and maybe you just kind of like, whatever. Okay? Have you noticed that? Because I know I have. That's kind of what got me started on this journey to essentially developing DC psychology. Now, here's the thing, okay? You as an individual have a specific set of primary motivators. Now, other people, they also have their own motivators. And it's kind of like a mix, like a recipe, okay? For example, let's say you're a high performer. So let's talk about high performers in the food industry, like pizza. Pizza's a pretty high performer. Everybody likes pizza, okay? And let's just say chocolate ice cream, okay? A lot of people like chocolate ice cream. Both of them very high performers, right, in the food industry. But when you take chocolate ice cream and you put it on pizza, maybe it's not really going to be that great, right? Because it just doesn't mix. But by themselves, they're high performers. So it's the same thing with human beings, because like when you've got somebody that's got high performer and they're motivated by certain things, you got somebody else motivated by other things and they're high performers, and or maybe even it's the same things and it just kind of clashes. Well, that's kind of the problem. So what's the solution? Well, one of the solutions is basically identify what primary motivators are there. And there's a couple of ways. Well, we've actually created a matrix that will specifically predict what motivators are going to kind of mess you up and what motivate in a group dynamics and what motivators won't. But the first thing you got to know are how the motivator, what are these motivators? And so we've developed a tool, and okay, this is called the Colored Brain Communication cards. All right. Now these cards are really cool, and you can pretty much we've got online version of these cards. All they are very specifically chosen images. All right. Now, why? What's the point of images? Well, consider this. Okay, if I say, hey, what would you do with $10 million? You're probably going to come up with some ideas, right? But if I say choose 5 cards that describe what you would do with $10 million, what's going to happen is you're going to go into your brain, and it's going to go into your subconscious, and your subconscious is going to ask that question on every single image that you have. And so what that means is basically you are going to get subconscious answers to that question, which ultimately means that you are going to create answers that are more clear, that are more visible to you as to, and for that matter, anyone else that might be coaching you or training you, to really understand and get clarity on what are the things behind it. So the moment that you ask somebody what you would do with $10 million, what happens is you look through these cards, you go in, and every single card, the meaning of the card, not the picture, but the meaning of the card ultimately reflects back to a primary motivator. And there are essentially 8 primary motivators, or what we call emotional drives, okay? One of them ultimately is the emotional drive for love and belonging, right? We want to kind of, belong to something, okay? We want to have this sense of caring. And of course, there's also the emotional drive for security and control. We want to be kind of in control of our lives and at least have a certain level of knowing what's going to happen. Then of course, the emotional drive for diversity. You kind of want to be able to have a little variety, which is also connected to fun, okay? And then of course, then you've got your emotional drive for significance and recognition. You want to be recognized, you want, and see, this is where a lot of times people think, oh, you recognize people, that's going to give you everything, and it's not. That's only one, right? And then you also have the emotional drive for achievement. Achievement is not necessarily doing big things, it's about finishing something. It's about that emotional gratification you get when you finish something, okay? Then the emotional gratification for personal growth and challenge. You don't like to be bored. You want to kind of constantly develop yourself and be challenged, sometimes, depending on who you are, right? And the other one, of course, is the emotional drive for excellence. It's about a certain thing that make something yours, that is ultimately it's your thing, and you just put a little bit of extra effort or ideas or whatever into that one thing that's your thing, and that ultimately gives you this foundation of a sense of personal pride. And that finally something that where you are, a contribution and a kind of a sense of responsibility for humanity or giving of yourself. And it doesn't have to be giving money, it could be giving time, it could be giving knowledge, it could be, somehow helping other people in general. So these are the 8 emotional drives. And now when you look at these 8 emotional drives, okay, there's probably some people have 1, okay, some people have 2 or 3 or even 4 primary motivators. Now, the mix is the key. See, sometimes we've noticed, for example, some people with a high emotional drive for control connected with other people that essentially also have a high emotional drive for control sometimes clash, right? And you've also got other people who have high levels of significance. And we've noticed that when you get 2 people with high levels of recognition and significance, and they also have certain things like growth and achievement, that they do really well together. But the moment you add a 3rd person in there, suddenly there's a problem. So the mix is the key. Now, there is a lot more information on this, but ultimately, getting to know the mix of where your team is ultimately the root cause of disengagement. We have found that even in a team of 10 people that are supposed to achieve a certain KPI, that if we remove 1 person, so now you have 9 people doing the job of 10, they were more efficient and, well, basically faster and got better results. Okay, so knowing your team's primary motivators, playing a simple short game with them with the color brain cards, which can also be found online. And let me kind of give you a little bit of idea. Now there's so much more in this. This is an entire module in the directive communication consultant, coach, and trainer certification. This module is, well, in itself, it's at least 3 days. And but it gives you a complete predictable outcome. Now, we've got all the tools, we've got all of the ways to interpret this. So if you really want to master this, okay, I would highly recommend. Right now we're doing this root cause thing as part of a promotion that we're doing to essentially enroll people as members of the directive communication family. Okay, right now we have over 600 licensed directive communication trainers, consultants, and coaches in 28 countries. And if you'd like to be part of that and be able to blow people away by literally predicting what the disengagement is and fixing it in, well, actually really quick time. I mean, you could just literally spend 10 minutes, you would be able to tell them what the problem is and be able to kind of create solutions almost instantly. Now, if you think about what that would be worth to organizations, I would highly recommend that you join the family and let us know how we can support you to essentially be more successful as a trainer, coach, consultant, or HR person, or people that are leaders in an organization that basically just need to develop your team. So this is Arthur Karmazi. There's a link below where you can check out the directive communication psychology. Right now it's the early bird thing, so you can check that out, and you can save some money and also join an internationally accredited team of professionals that are making a global impact. This is Arthur Karmazi, wishing you great success.